It wasn't leaked by a royal insider. It wasn't stolen by the press. According to multiple sources, the document that's now causing chaos inside the palace came from somewhere far more personal: Meghan Markle's own therapist. Allegedly shared through an encrypted channel, the notes weren't just clinical updates. They described an ongoing obsession, a fixation on one woman, Kate Middleton. One chilling line stood out: "If Kate keeps rising, I'll never be free. I need her gone." My6 took that line seriously, very seriously, because what started as therapy now reads like something far more dangerous. And this was only the beginning. It wasn't supposed to get out. The therapist had used initials, not names. The file was private, protected, hidden, but someone inside MI6 couldn't ignore what they saw. According to insider leaks, a mid-level analyst flagged the file during a routine scan. It wasn't just the language, it was the pattern. Meghan's alleged statements about Kate were repeated, focused, escalated, and then came the twist. A BBC producer working on an unrelated documentary reportedly received a screenshot of one of the therapist's notes. No name, no context, just a sentence, highlighted in red. The producer showed it to an editor who allegedly passed it to a former palace aide. Within 48 hours, word had reached Kensington Palace. Inside MI6, panic erupted. The leak was never meant to leave intelligence hands, and now it was floating through the media underworld. But instead of denying it, the palace went silent. No statement, no comment, just waiting. Because if that file was real, and the notes truly were Meghan's, the implications were explosive. And what happened next would only make it worse. At first, it seemed like just another royal leak, but something about the wording felt familiar. Fans began digging through Meghan's old interviews, and suddenly, certain phrases started to echo the leaked file. In the infamous Oprah sit-down, Meghan hinted, "I was silenced," but they were willing to lie to protect others. Now, sources say that exact wording, "lie to protect others," appears nearly verbatim in the therapist's notes. In another clip from her Netflix series, Meghan speaks with a visible edge. "They wanted her to win, no matter what it cost me." The public thought it was vague frustration, but the MI6 file reportedly shows those same sentiments sharpened, more direct, more targeted, toward Kate specifically. A former palace insider even claimed Meghan had rehearsed certain phrases months before going public, phrases that would appear to mirror what's now inside that confidential report. It wasn't just emotion, it felt orchestrated. And the deeper they dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about Meghan's trauma, this was about strategy, a media blueprint designed to dismantle an image. And Kate was allegedly the center of it. But it gets darker, because MI6 didn't just find notes, they found a timeline. Buried inside the therapist's encrypted file was something MI6 couldn't ignore: a timeline. Sources say it detailed emotional spikes, triggers, and alleged strategic responses. But what made it dangerous was how those notes lined up with real events. On January 2020, Meghan reportedly describes feeling erased after Kate received glowing coverage at a charity gala. Just 3 weeks later, the Megxit announcement drops, shocking the palace and the public alike. On June 2021, therapist notes mention a deep resentment after Kate is praised globally for her calm demeanor at Prince Philip's funeral. That same month, Meghan's team releases the birth photo of Lilibet, which allegedly redirects media attention. On September 2022, the file highlights pressure and competition following Queen Elizabeth's death, where Kate's composure became a media focus. Weeks later, Meghan's controversial podcast episode drops, one that subtly questions royal motherhood and duty. Too many coincidences, too many overlaps. MI6 reportedly compiled these into what they called a sentiment map, a visual alignment of Meghan's emotional triggers and corresponding public moves. What began as therapy now looked, at least to officials, like tactical warfare through PR. But the biggest shock came when the timeline hinted at something much more deliberate, something the file referred to as the final shift. And that shift, it would revolve around one thing: Kate's disappearance. When Kate Middleton vanished from the public eye in early 2024, rumors exploded. Health scare, cosmetic surgery, a cover-up. But according to palace insiders, the silence wasn't about privacy, it was about containment. Behind closed doors, something had shifted. Multiple sources claim a confidential intelligence alert was issued just weeks before Kate's sudden retreat, not to the press, but internally, to royal security, palace staff, and media liaisons. And here's where it gets eerie. The MI6 file, yes, the one with Meghan's alleged sessions, mentions an event titled Public Reset Phase. That term appears twice in a section dated just weeks before Kate disappeared. No specifics, no dates, just the phrase and a reference to removing the obstruction. What did that mean? Was it metaphorical? Was it strategic? Or, like some sources fear, was it a signal? Around the same time, unaired footage from a charity event showed Meghan making a cryptic comment under her breath. "It's her turn to vanish now." The mic barely caught it. The clip never aired, but it was leaked. And when it resurfaced on encrypted forums, some began piecing things together. Kate's absence wasn't random. It was timed. And that final shift the file mentioned, it had already begun. As the world speculated wildly about Kate's disappearance, the palace said nothing. No photos, no updates, just silence. But silence, sources say, was the plan all along. According to leaked briefings, Kensington Palace launched something insiders now call the mirror strategy. The goal? To let the media do to Meghan what she allegedly orchestrated for Kate by making the public feel confused, worried, and angry. But not at the palace. Behind the scenes, former royal aides were told to hold the line. Every request for comment was redirected. Every leak met with calculated stillness. And it worked. The public turned inward. Conspiracies exploded. Paparazzi chased shadows, all while Kate remained unseen. And Meghan's name began trending again, and again, and again. But not the way she wanted. Old clips resurfaced. Facial expressions reanalyzed. Voice inflections pulled apart. Every time Kate was missing, Meghan was blamed, fairly or not. And when a photoshopped Mother's Day image of Kate was released, the internet melted down. But what most people didn't notice was that the file name allegedly originated from a California IP address. Coincidence? Maybe. But for palace insiders, it was a warning shot. They weren't losing control. They were regaining it in silence. And just when things couldn't get more tense, a new email surfaced. One that allegedly came from a former royal protection officer. And its contents changed everything. Buried in the encrypted archives of an old royal inbox was an email that never should have been found. It was sent by a former royal protection officer, someone who allegedly resigned under mysterious internal pressure in 2021. The subject line? Security protocol breach, Sussex Channel intercepted. According to reports, the officer claimed that during a routine security sweep, palace systems picked up irregular encrypted traffic, messages bouncing between a private California server and a London-based VPN tied to freelance paparazzi. And the strangest part? Those messages weren't about Harry. They weren't about King Charles. They were centered on Kate. The content was vague. Strings of instructions, coded timestamps, and one eerie phrase repeated across several emails. Only one can lead. The officer raised alarms, but just 3 weeks later, he was quietly dismissed. No formal inquiry, no follow-up. When questioned years later in a private conversation, allegedly leaked by a tech consultant, he simply said, "I was told, let it go, for everyone's safety. So I did." That email, though never confirmed publicly, allegedly became a key piece in the MI6 file. It connected the dots between the obsessive journal entries, the timed public appearances, and the sudden vanishing act of Kate Middleton. And just when the file seemed to reach its peak, someone noticed something else. In Meghan's alleged therapy logs, there were references to a plan called Opal. No one knew what it meant, until one day, they did. At first, Opal sounded harmless. Just a word, a color, maybe a code name for therapy goals. But according to those who reviewed the MI6 file, it wasn't harmless at all. In Meghan's alleged therapy logs, the term Operation Opal kept surfacing, often alongside emotional spikes, mentions of Kate, and recurring phrases like, "She always shines," "I'm always shadow," "Opal dulls diamonds," "The world needs a new jewel." Some say it was metaphorical. Others, including insiders quoted in encrypted royal briefings, believe it was code. A symbolic way of framing a psychological takedown, because here's what Opal might have stood for: a plan not to harm Kate physically, but to erase her presence, to make her seem unstable, unreachable, gone, not by force, but by confusion. And when Kate vanished, with no solid explanation, no footage, and a flood of contradictory images, it was almost like Opal had succeeded. For 42 days, the most beloved royal vanished, and the only person people kept talking about was Meghan. Whether Meghan orchestrated anything or not, whether the file was real or a twisted accumulation of speculation, the damage had been done. Kate eventually returned to public life, quieter, thinner, and more private than ever. Meghan, still navigating a storm of questions that just won't die down, because one chilling line remains unsolved, allegedly scribbled on a final page of the leaked therapist notes. "I didn't want her hurt, I just wanted her gone." And that is the line no one can unsee.